Hi, this is Kez back with another makeup video. Today we're going to be reviewing the Artitude Cosmetics brand, which is an indie brand based in the UK that sells makeup. One of the things they're best known for is their palettes, so that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. They started off with one called Colour Splash, which when I saw it, it's a nice palette. It's got a lot of colours in, but you can see how far they've progressed from that palette. I don't have that palette to hand at the moment. I do have it somewhere, but I can't find it in my vast collection. If you look in the top corner now, you can see an image of the Colour Splash palette, which was the first palette. The pigment was good, but when they did the second palette, it really upped their game, and you'll see what I mean when I show you the palette. The next palette they produced was this one. It's called Phoenix Born from the Ashes. It's a 25 shade palette. The packaging is beautiful. It came with an outer sleeve that had the same design on it. And it has something on the back. It sort of has like little poems or little insights into the palette. So this one says, in the still of the night, the magnificent phoenix builds her nest. Her golden red feathers glisten in the early sunrise as she sings a haunting melody that stops the sun in the sky. A spark falls from the heavens and ignites great fire that consumes her, leaving nothing behind but ashes. But the phoenix will rise again, born from the ashes. Just like the phoenix herself, you are indestructible and powerful, a force to be reckoned with. Let the phoenix within you shine through. Show off her bold colours, her unimaginable beauty and perfection. With 25 gorgeous eyeshadows and 4 unique textures, the possibilities are endless. 10 buttery easy to blend mattes, 10 gorgeous reflective shimmers including high definition foils, 3 diamond eyeshadows with real crystal microparticles, and 2 brand new multi-chromes with super pigmented, intense shifting colours. Get ready to be born. It is proudly 100% vegan and cruelty free. Now the good thing about this is it does have those multi-chromes in it, and it's hard to get multi-chromes for a decent price, so their prices are really quite reasonable for the palettes, and it also adds into it 2 of those multi-chromes, which is even more surprising. So this retails for $32.99, which, considering it includes 2 multi-chromes, I think is a fantastic price. It's one of my favourite palettes and a staple palette, and it does boast exactly what it says. So I'm going to go through all the shades with you, and then we're going to do a little bit of a look. But I'm going to show you both of the palettes because there is one that was released after this. And once we've done that, then we will sort of go into it and do a look. So the first one that you get in this palette is Ashes. It's very pigmented. You hardly have to touch it to get any sort of pigment from it, which is really nice. The second one is Stronger, and this is kind of like a pink, but I'd say it's not quite coral, but it's got that sort of paley pastely pink to it. The third one is Smoke. That's a slightly darker shade. Again, it's quite intense and foily. Now if you look at that one, you can see that that's sort of got more of a, I'd say that's more silver, and that's probably more of a minky shade looking at it. The next one is Empower, and I'm hardly having to touch these to get any sort of pigment out of them, which is amazing. So just the quality alone is worth it. And the last one in the row is Descent, which is that one there. Now Descent is a strange shade. It's kind of like a mauvey purple, but it is also a metallic. I'm just going to pop some more on so you can see there. So that's the first row. The shades on that are really nice. What I like about it is it's got a mixture of shades. So you've got some very muted pinky shades, which you can work with as base shades. But then you've also got these brilliant metallics. There is a range of colours. I mean, the first row is quite dark, except for the pops of pink. But you can see going down the palette that there really is quite a good range there. This here is one of the multi-chromes. So we're going in with the second row now. Now Spark is a very true orange. It's almost neon in its shade. It comes off really easily. Now I might need to double up on the swatches for now. It's not anything to do with the quality, it's just because I've just put something on to cleanse the makeup off my skin, so it's not sticking as well, because the idea is it removes makeup. The second one is Burn, and this is a stunning orange shade. Reminds me of my hair, but it's more metallic. And the thing I like about this palette as well is like you could quite easily pair these together. They're almost in sets of 2 in terms of what you could use them for. This is Rise, and that's another matte. The mattes are really buttery. They blend really easily. and that's kind of like a brown. Then you've got Unbreakable, and this is a gold, and you can see the gold coming off that straight away. And then you've got Broken, which is what I'd say is a true brown. So that's the second row in the palette. I'll try and not use so much cleaner this time. This is possibly one of my favourite shades in the palette. It picks up really easily. This is called Flames, and it's a very, very intense red. Now, because this brand is cruelty free, it wouldn't be using the usual pigments to try and create that sort of red shade. And so to have one that's quite intense like that is quite hard when you're doing a cruelty free brand. It is a little bit, what I'd say, crumbly. Now, I think that's just how the shade is, but you can actually blend it out still, so it doesn't stay that way. I will say that it is difficult to get off. Sometimes there is a little bit of staining. That's not unusual, but you can remove it with an oil-based makeup remover really easily. So although it does stain, it's not sort of going to be permanently on your skin. But just be aware of that if you're in a rush getting ready the next day. The next one is Fire. And that is sort of a very orangey red matte. Goes really well with the other one. You can see how well they sort of blend together. Well, this one is probably one of the ones you've been waiting to see. This is one of the multi-chromes. Now, when I'm looking at it on my finger, it looks purple in the pan. And then it looks gold on my finger, but there's also elements of green in there. So you can see the purple. If I move it up there, you can see the gold shimmer and the green. If I move it around. That's probably the best way to show it all. It really is a nice shade, and on the eyes it looks really, really nice. So the next one is Growth, and this is kind of like a muted mushroomy brown, I'd say. And then you've got Invincible, which I think is another one of those foil ones, and that's another shade in the red range. That's kind of like a bronzy red. It's very pretty. So that's the third row. You can see why I'm so impressed with these for £32.99, because a lot of palettes, and I'm not slating any particular brand, but a lot of palettes charge a lot more for this sort of quality makeup. It's a brand that isn't very well known and is still building, although it's getting better known, and I think it deserves the credit, and that's why I wanted to highlight it and how good it is. The next one is Wings, and that is a matte red, very true to sort of a deep red, which I like. Changes is kind of like a pearlescent pink, like a metallic pink, and I think there's elements of gold in there as well from what I can see. Reborn is a strong yellow shade. It's kind of like a mustard, maybe not quite as dark as mustard. And Eternal is another one of those foils, and that is a real nice gold. And I like the fact that it has got a staple black in it as well, but the black itself, although it's a matte, I think that one sometimes does need a little bit more building. Might just be the one in my particular pan, I'm not sure. But when you put it on the eyes, it performs better than it swatches on the actual skin. So when you've actually got it there and you're blending it in, it's sort of very dark and very smoky. You can blend it out to make it lighter, but you can keep it more intense if you want to. And the last row we've got here, this is Elevate, which is kind of like a cream base. It doesn't show up very well on my skin, and that's not in sort of terms of quality of the makeup. It's just I've got very pale skin, so it's really hard to show it up on it. But it does make a really nice sort of blendable base colour. This is Glory, which is a bronze shade. I do think there's a little bit of a colour flip in that as well, although it's not classed as a multi-chrome. I do see elements of perhaps gold in that brown, which is really nice. And probably the one you've been waiting for, the other multi-chrome. Now when this goes on the finger, this is Dreams. It's purple and it has elements of pink in it and also gold. So you can see the purple in it there. It's also got blue in it and it reflects gold as well. So that one really does sort of go through the ranges. It's probably one of the most popular multi-chromes, that one and like a green based one that I've seen. So to get that in this palette is really quite a treat. That one is like a gold, that's Hope. and the last one is called Healing, and it's kind of similar but just slightly lighter. So on the whole, I think this is probably one of my favourite palettes, and I love that it's even got the sort of writing on the inside. It says, in order to rise from its own ashes, a phoenix must first burn. I love the theme of it as well, with it being the phoenix. It really is quite nice. I haven't got the original outer box because I've popped it away somewhere, so I can't show it you. And then they came with this. This is the next palette, and this is the Man-Eater palette. Now the cover to this is so good that I've kept it on. So you've got like those tiger scratches, and the inside cover is even more beautiful. Now you get 20 shadows in this one, so there's 5 less, but it is slightly cheaper. So it's called Man-Eater Untamed, and the artwork is beautiful. You've got sort of a person that's going into a tiger there. This one was really well advertised, and when it came, it was beautifully packaged. It came in a little box. It had sort of like a cloth type, or maybe like a tissue over the top, and it had this beautiful gold leaf on top of it. Not like a real gold leaf, like a material one, which I've actually kept because I think I might be able to use it in a cosplay at some point. So that's safely tucked away somewhere. I wanted to review it as soon as I got it, but I just didn't get the time, which is a shame. But let's get to the good bit. So again, it's got information on the back about the palette, so I'm going to read you that. The Man-Eater stalks her prey silently in the forest jungle. Using her prowess as a hunter, she camouflages herself, the ultimate predator. Her victim is already trapped within her claws. Nobody can escape this powerful feline. The queen of her kingdom, she's a rare breed, an endangered species wanted by many, but obtained by none. She was born to be wild and free, the Man-Eater Untamed. 20 gorgeous eyeshadows, 5 unique textures, 10 buttery easy to blend mattes, 4 gorgeous reflective shimmers, 3 high definition foils, 2 soft multichromes with a subtle colour shift, and 1 luxurious iridescent shimmer. So again, you get 2 multichromes into this price, which is amazing. And these are the shades. This really appeals to me because I like the fact that it's grungy, but it's also got in it some kind of other elements as well, so it's quite blendable. You do have a little bit of those similar colours to the other palette, but they're not the same. If you compare them like for like between the 2 palettes, they are not the same shades, and I think that's good because you know those shades work because you've used them in the other palette, but they're not the exact tone, so they match better, and you can mix and match the 2 palettes. This one is Siberian, and that's a yellow one. Now it's a lot lighter yellow than the mustardy coloured one in the other palette, and so it's not the same. It looks similar in the pan, but on the skin it is very different. Next one is Forest, and I think this is one of the foils. It's like a really nice green. It's kind of got that element of yellow in it slightly, like an olive, I think is probably the best way to put it, like an olivey green. Wild is a pure matte. This is almost neon, a bit like the orange in the other one. Oh, it is neon pretty much, but it's really, really nice, and I really like playing with that one. Jungle matches with it quite well. Look at that. I've not seen a shade like this in many palettes. It's a foil, but that sort of green is really unusual. Now, I really like Untamed, and this one is the topper shade. If you see it on the finger, it is almost iridescent. So you can see it on its own, and it sort of flicks between white and possibly like a green. But you can also, I'll just show you, pop it over the top of the others, and it sort of changes the reflection of the other shade. So that first row there. Bengal is just the most vibrant foil orange. It's just brilliant. I love it. And Tiger is also kind of like a, maybe a corally colour, perhaps. There's that staple black in there again, called Wanted. Now, I did find the black to be truer in this one. So it's sort of, on impact of putting it on, it is a bit of a stronger black. But again, it works well on the eyes either way. This is Feline, so this is like a pink, and it's like a matte pink. I'd probably say it's not quite a powder pink, but it's like a vintage pink, I think is probably the best way to put it. And then you've got Kingdom here, which is that really nice. It's like a gold, but it seems to have a little bit of an inkling of perhaps red in it. So that's row 2. This is Carnivore, and that is a really nice plum shade, like a muted plum. Man-Eater is another one of the high definition foils, and that is a really true green. And when you look at it in the palette, it almost looks like it's glitter, but when you swatch it, it isn't. This is Predator, and that's another one, which is a really shiny pink. Then you've got Nocturnal, which is a... Oh, that's my fault. I didn't really get any on my finger there. That's like a foresty green. It's probably one of the weaker shades in the palette, but it does build really well. So don't write it off and think, oh, well, it's not very good just because it doesn't swatch as well. Because again, a lot of the time, the colours perform on the skin much better than they do in the pan. These are just colour tests, really, to show you what the colours look like. When you're actually getting in there and using them, it's different. And this is Beast, which is a true brown. And that one's very pigmented from the off. Right, so Free is another high foil, and that is a gorgeous turquoise. This is Endangered, and that is green. And you've got Claws, which is kind of like a yellow. Camouflage, which is a camo green. And the last one is Hunter, which is like an orangey red. So that's all the shades side by side. So that's the two palettes. They are both beautiful and stunning, and the brand is amazing. And so now I'm going to do an eye look to show you what they actually look like on the skin. I'm going to take a fluffy brush to start with. This is Spectrum B06. I'm going to start with a shade from the Phoenix palette. Now I want something light over the top, so I don't want anything that's too in your face. So I'm going to start with the Healing shade here, because I want some shimmer on the top of my eye. I'm just going to apply that with a brush and take it up to the brow. It picks up really well on this brush. I do want it to be slightly subtle, so I haven't put too much product on there. But that's the shimmer. I'm going to put that on both corners of the eyes. I'm just working it into the corner and taking it about a quarter of the way across. Now what I've decided to do for this is add a little bit of extra shimmer. So I'm going to take off the excess product on the brush and dip it into Ashes, which was the grey shade. And I'm just going to put that sort of over the top, but only on the middle part. And I'm going to leave the bit on the very edge still black. And I am going to intensify the black as well. So it's almost like a graduation, like a colour fade. I'm just going to darken that black on both sides again, just so that you can see the difference. So you can see the difference between the black and the grey, probably more so on this side because the lighting's better on this side. Because my hair is bright orange, I think we should use some orange shades to go with it. So I'm going to stick with the Phoenix palette for now. I am going to incorporate the other one, but I just wanted to use Spark, which is that bright orange, and put that on there. And then I'm going to use the colour from the other palette in with it. So that's going to go on the other half of my eye, because the other two have taken it up to the half point. And I am blending them in a little bit, so that when I get to that portion here, I'm blending the colours together a little, because I want it to be seamless. I don't want it to look blocky. So that's so far. I'm sticking with this same brush just because I'm getting good results with it, but I do keep cleaning it off as well. Right, so with this one, I'm now going to apply the Bengal, which is that shimmery bright orange. I'm doing it with my finger, and the reason I'm doing that is because they do apply really well with the finger. And I'm just popping that on top of the orange, but not all the way to the corner. So in the corner you can still see some of the regular orange shade, and that just makes it pop. And then also in this palette, and I'm going to use the brush for this because I want it to be a bit more subtle, I'm going to take the Kingdom shade, which is the gold, and just place it in the corner, just to give the corner a little bit. That is one of the multi-chromes. I can tell now it's on the eye. You can see it sort of switching between gold and almost like a corally orange shade. It's very pretty. I'm just going to build that up in the corners a little bit. And 5 minutes in, and the two palettes have created an amazing look. I really like how that's turned out. Just going to go back in. This is 103 from BH Cosmetics, and I'm going to use the black, which is Fallen, just to show you that on the eye it does pack a punch, because this was the one that didn't look like it was very good in the swatches. So I wanted to show you that that isn't the case when it's applied onto the skin. With that Healing shade, and I'm just going to add that to the top a little bit more, just so that it blends in really well with the other shades. So that is a combination of Phoenix and Untamed, which I hope you like. So to summarise, the brand is amazing. It's UK based, so it's easy to get hold of. Value for money, definitely. It's worth every penny. And if you don't have it already, go out and get your hands on it, because you need these palettes in your life. And they're good staple eyeshadow palettes. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Do like and subscribe if you do for more videos. I know that I'm not able to post consistently at the moment because I have other projects going on, but I do think that the videos are quite valid, especially from a review purpose. So have a good day, and I hope to see you again on my next video. Take care.